Hey you guys, my name is Morgan Breisch. I'm so happy you guys clicked on today's video. I thought it would be super fun to do a little monthly TBR video of books I'm thinking about reading for the upcoming month. I will say, just because I'm putting them on my TBR does not mean I'm actually gonna read them. I'm gonna try really hard to stick to my physical TBR just because I have so many books on my shelves that I have not read yet, and I really wanna try to make it a goal this year to make sure I read every single book on my shelves. Part of the reason why I have so many books on my shelves that I haven't read is because if I'm at thrift stores or something and I see a book that I've heard a lot about, I'm like, why would I not buy it if it's here and it's like $4 instead of spending $20 at Barnes on it, you know? So with that thinking, I ended up getting a lot of books over the past couple of years, and I'm a Kindle girly through and through. Like, I love reading on my Kindle. I just feel like I read so much faster on my Kindle, and it's so easy for me to switch back and forth between different books when I have my Kindle on me. So if I'm out on vacation or I'm just out and about, if I'm not feeling a book at the time, I can just open up a new book on my Kindle. Whereas if I'm bringing like a physical book with me, obviously I'm kind of stuck with it unless I have another book with me. All of that is to say, I do love reading on my Kindle, but I also just love the fact of having like a book collection to showcase all of my fave reads, and also just to like have a nice collection that I can like pass on to friends and family when they want books to read. So I started making it a point to try to get as many of the books I have on my actual physical bookshelves on Kindle as well, just so if I'm not in the mood to actually read the physical book on my shelf, I still have that book on my Kindle so I can still say I've read it. Does that make sense? I feel like it does. I feel like if you're a book girly, you totally get it. Also, you don't even need to have an actual Kindle. A lot of the time, I honestly just read on the Kindle app on my phone, because then I don't even have to remember to bring my Kindle with me. So that is like an amazing feature of Kindle. I'm just like a Kindle girly for life, I'm pretty sure. But anyways, as you guys saw, I was looking through my bookshelves to find some books that I think I want to read in March coming up. So let's go through them. I want to talk about like a little description of each of the books. Make sure to comment down below if you've ever read any of the books I'm going to talk about. I'm super interested in hearing what you guys think about these books. Most of the books I picked out for this month are books that I have bought because I've seen other book girlies talking about them and how much they like them, either on TikTok or YouTube or just reading through Goodreads. So I'm really excited about all the books I've picked out. I hope I can actually get to all of them. We will see how good I am at sticking to my physical TBR, because this is the first month I'm actually physically creating a TBR. Usually I just am like a mood reader and I just kind of pick up whatever book I feel like reading at the time. But I think I picked up a couple of different types of books, so I can still kind of mood read, but just within a smaller range of books. But anyways, without any further ado, let's get started. So for March, I picked out 7 physical books to add to my TBR. And like I said, there's a couple different genres. I have some fantasy and some romance, and that is all. Those are kind of the only genres I've ever read. I'm not really like a mystery or thriller girly. I like a book to just like take me to a happy place where I don't have to think about things. And I know fantasy books, you usually do have to think a little bit more than like just a normal rom-com, but I love like the magical world building of fantasies. I'm just like I'm totally a baby, so I don't like scary movies and I don't like thriller books. I read, what is it called? I did read Verity like when I first started my when I first started my book journey like 2-3 years ago, and like I liked this. I thought it was cool, but like I literally couldn't sleep when I was reading this. Like I stayed up and read it all in one sitting because I felt so like nervous reading it. So this is like the one and only like thrillery weird type of book I've ever read, and I'm just like, as much as I liked this at the time, I don't think I'll ever read another book like this. Alrighty, so let's just get started and go through this little TBR. So the first one I picked out to add to my little TBR is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I have seen so many people raving about these books, and I love a hockey romance. I think it's so fun. I love like the little banter they usually have in hockey romances. So I'm very excited to read this book in March, and I figured I need to read this before spring comes for real, because I don't know, it just feels like a wintry book to me. So I figured March is probably one of the last like super wintry months coming up, so gotta get this read. But basically the little gist of Icebreaker, as I understand it, is it's a captain of the hockey team and then a girl who's a figure skater, and she's been working like her whole life to be on Team USA for figure skating. And I believe at the college they're in, facilities messes things up with the scheduling. So the hockey team and the figure skating team are scheduled on the ice at the same time. So I'm assuming there's a lot of like banter and like arguments going on between the two main characters, and we all know how that will end. They're gonna fall in love. So I'm very excited to see how this is. It is like it's not like a super short romance. I feel like a lot of the romances I read that are like more rom-com-y are like 300, 350 pages, and this is a 432 page book. So I'm kind of excited to have a longer read. I'm not sure if it's actually a longer read or if it'll just like still feel like I'm flying through it, but either way, I'm excited to read this in March. Okay, next up, totally opposite vibe of wanting to read wintry books in March. I want to read Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. This is the second book that comes after It Happened One Summer. These books have been compared to like Schitt's Creek vibes. Like it's about these rich girls who move to a small town and they fall in love with local people there. And I absolutely loved the first book, It Happened One Summer. So I believe this is about the sister of the girl who was the main character in the first book. So I'm excited to read this. And I picked this one out because I am going to Florida on a mini little weekend trip for one of the weekends in March. So I figured it'd be fun to have like kind of like a summery beachy read to read while I'm there. So that's why I picked this one out. I'm really excited to read it. I read It Happened One Summer like 2 years ago. So I'm excited to get back into this world because I remember thinking it was so funny, but it was also so cute and so good. So this should be a fun read. I'm really giving you guys whiplash with this TBR. So back to the winter vibes. I picked up this series like 3 years ago and it's been sitting on my shelf ever since. And it honestly sounds so good. So I don't know why I haven't even thought about reading it until now, but this is the first book in the series. It's called Frostfire by Amanda Hocking. It's the Canaan Chronicles is what the series is called, and it has 3 books in the series, and I have all 3 of them. I just haven't read them because I found them at a thrift store and I think they were like $1 each, so I picked them all up. I honestly have not heard anyone talking about these books before, so I have no idea really if they're actually good or what to expect, but based on like the descriptions on the back, they sound like something I'll love because it's kind of like a fantasy vibe. So this book is basically about a girl who's seen as an outsider in her kingdom because she's a half-blood. So she looks different than everyone else in her kingdom, but she's still like has this need and like urge to prove herself to everyone else that she cares about the kingdom just as much as everyone else. And I believe she's like a warrior or a fighter or something, and she is like fighting for her like kingdom this whole time. She has like a little love connection with her boss, I think, and it's like one of those forbidden romance type of vibes. And then she runs into like one of her greatest enemies that's tried to kill her father before, blah blah blah. And she gets to this crossroads where it's like, is it really worth risking my life for a kingdom or a place that doesn't like me or love me or doesn't believe in me, or is it worth fighting for even when no one believes in her? That kind of vibe. So it seems like fun. I don't know if there's like magic involved or if it's just kind of like fantasy vibes, but either way, I'm super excited to read this. I think it'll be a fun and like super quick read. The text is like relatively large in here, so hopefully I fly through this. I'm hoping I like it since I have the next 2 books in the series anyways, but I feel like, again, this is obviously a wintry vibed book, so it'll be fun to read in March. This is a book I picked up not too long ago, actually. It's The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I read The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, and that is probably my favorite read of all time at this point. Other than the ACOTAR series, I will always love the ACOTAR series, but The 7-Year Slip was literally so like heart-wrenchingly beautiful. I still think about it to this day, and I read it like over a month ago. Like every single day I'm thinking about that book. So I absolutely loved her writing, so I wanted to pick up another book from her. The girl falls in love with a ghost who I think used to be her boss. I don't know. But it sounds like one of those like kind of not fantasy, but like obviously not reality type of books, but it seems really cute and sweet. I'm not sure how this is gonna end up, if he's actually a ghost. Maybe he's not really a ghost in real life. But either way, I'm very excited to see what this is like. I've seen a few TikToks about girls talking about this, but I haven't seen that much hype around it. I've definitely seen a lot more people talking about The 7-Year Slip, so I'm excited to read this and see if I think it's comparable to the 7-Year Slip. This is a fantasy book, and I have read one fantasy so far this year, which is crazy because the last 2 years of me reading, it's been a majority fantasy books. Like I would sprinkle in like a rom-com or a romance here and there to just kind of give me like a palate cleanser between fantasy series. But this year I've really been focusing on romances and rom-coms. So I'm excited to like get back into the fantasy vibes. So this is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. And this is the first book in the Emily Wilde series. I think there's 3 total books that are gonna be in it. The second one just came out. And this is like a super, super short book for a fantasy. And like the words are relatively big in this too. So I'm excited to read this because I think it'll be a super quick read. Also, this is like such a niche thing, but I love when a book is super floppy like this. I don't know why. It's like one of my favorite things. It just feels so like comforting. I feel like that's weird for me to say. Anyways, so this series is about a professor who goes to like a small town to do research on fairy folklore, and when they're there they figure out that magic is real, I'm pretty sure, and then they just like form friendships and love connections, and I think it'll be like a super cute, like fun little fantasy series. I'm thinking, I honestly don't know, so I can be making this up, but I feel like the world building will probably be relatively easy in this. So hopefully this is like a fun little quick fantasy read to get into, and hopefully it'll help me like get more into fantasy for this year so I can keep going into like bigger fantasy series. Okay, next up is The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. I literally only put this on my TBR because I saw Destiny Sidwell reading it in one of her recent reading vlogs. And I don't even think she liked it that much, so I don't know why I picked it out to add to my TBR. So this one is about a girl who's basically trying to start a fresh life. Like she's turning a leaf. She wants to like be an adult and like start over. And then she goes on a dating app, matches with a guy she's already met in her past. And I believe they decide to be each other's wing person. I'm assuming they fall in love in the end. It's probably one of those like, you don't know what's right in front of you until you do type of situations. So I think this will be like a fun little rom-com. I keep saying this, but like this text is actually huge in this book. And I love Lynn Painter books. So I think this should be a good one to read. I read Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter last year and I absolutely loved it. So I hope this gives me like those same little like butterflies fun feelings. Alrighty, and then the last book I have on my physical TBR for March is Unfortunately Yours by Tessa Bailey. This is like a fake marriage trope, which I used to hate, but I've read a couple of books with fake marriage tropes so far this year, and I've like honestly liked them and thought they were pretty cute. Books like these, I don't normally rate a 5-star. Usually they're like a 3 to a 4, which doesn't mean they're bad in my eyes at all. It just means like I'm not absolutely obsessed with them like I was with the 7-Year Slip or ACOTAR or something like that. But they're always just like fun little cutesy books to read. So this one is about a girl who I think like a bunch of bad stuff happens in her life too, and then she wants to start a business or something, but she can't access her trust fund money until she's married. So I'm assuming she finds a guy to fake marry so she can access her trust fund and get all of that money. And fake marriage tropes are always, they get married and then they end up actually loving each other and falling in love in the end. So I'm excited for this one. I think it'll be a fun little quick read. And I absolutely love Tessa Bailey too. I feel like Tessa Bailey, Emily Henry, and Lynn Painter are very like kind of similar vibes in that they're like all like little fun romances that don't have too much seriousness in them, but they're always just like good reads to have. Anyways, you guys, that is my physical TBR that I picked out for March. I'm really excited to see how I do with this. I hope I actually get to all of these books and actually read them. I think it'll be a fun little test for myself to see if I'm a good reader, and the fact that like I can read a book even if it's not like a mood read pick. So I'm excited, and like I said, I think I have like a majority of these books on my Kindle already. I'm not gonna lie, I totally plan on reading most of them on my Kindle and on the Kindle app on my phone, but I still wanna actually get these books read so I can say I've read all these books on my shelf. Anyways, you guys, let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know your opinions on them, and let me know if there's any other books you think I should add to my TBR for next month. I'm always looking for new book recommendations. I feel like I scour every form of social media looking for book recs, so let me know what your favorite books are below. I would love to add them to my TBR for the future. And yeah, I hope you guys like this little book content. I've definitely been making some more recently and I love doing it because that's like my most time consuming hobby I have for sure. So I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, make sure to like and subscribe. I would absolutely love to have you guys here for future videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys, Illy.